Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on what side of the pond you're on, and welcome to an extra special episode of Across the Pitch. My name is Phil Kennedy, and I'm joined by my co-host Tony Robinson today. And today, we'll welcome an extra special guest who is the backstop, to take a North American hockey term, of Accrington Stanley, none other than Nathan Baxter. Thanks for coming on the show today, Nathan, and welcome to Across the Pitch.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're throwing that North American reference in there, Phil. We're going to be talking as we go on about some clean sheets, or over here, as they say, shutouts. Mm-hmm. And I was actually, before we get into it, and just a bit of trivia, I was researching the term clean sheets. There's a bit of a story about how a player in Accrington had to wear a sheet off a clothesline, never got it dirty, and they called it a clean sheet. I haven't found the basis for that story, but what I did find out is that they used to write those goals down on a piece of paper, a sheet of paper, and if nobody scored against that team, then that piece of paper was clean, so they called it a clean sheet. That sounds more logical, but anyway, that's just a little bit of background on a clean sheet, which we'll touch on with Nathan as we get into it.
Yeah, I did not know that, and that's an interesting fact, because it's funny, you always wonder where these terms come from, and Nathan, you've actually recorded a clean sheet 50% of the time that you've taken the pitch this year, which is absolutely impressive. 6 clean sheets through 12 starts, including the most recent one yesterday. But one thing I want to ask you about before we get to the clean sheets is what happened in the 17th minute against Bristol. I know that's something that you probably want to talk about.
You put me on the spot here. I can't quite remember what you're talking about. Sorry.
No, you know what? Don't feel too bad, Nathan, because he asked me that, and I said, "What 17th minute?" I can't remember that. So,
well, that was when you recorded a statistic that it's a little bit more unusual for a goalkeeper than a clean sheet. You actually recorded an assist to Dion Charles, and I just I wanted you to take us through that a little bit, because I know that you're a guy that really focuses on being a fifth defender, if you will, in addition to being a goalkeeper. But in this case, you actually got involved in the offense, and I wanted you to kind of walk us through that moment of recording that assist.
Yeah, I mean, well, to be honest with you, Dion causes so many problems for the defenders, and he makes the goal really. I think I also got one against Charlton. I don't know whether it was recorded as well.
That's the one I remember. Charlton, yeah, I remember that one.
The Charlton one probably means a bit more because obviously it was 0-0 at the time, and we were under pressure a lot in the first half in that game. And then obviously again Colby makes it really. So a lot of credit's got to go to the front 2 strikers, who have obviously been brilliant for us this season. But yeah, it's really nice for me to play a part in the attack. I play a part in a lot of the build-up of the whole team, really. I mean, me and Mark Hughes, predominantly Mark, to be fair, he's unbelievable with the ball at his feet. But, we like to bring it out from the back, and, fair play to the gaffer. He wants us to play football, and he trusts us. And, we make the odd mistake, but, he knows that that's the best. Well, that is, it's not always the best way to play football, but it's the way that works for us. And, we're playing great football at times, and, it's always nice for me to be a part of that, because distribution is one of my strengths, and that's why he brought me to the club, I think. So
when you when you got the ball down to Dion and that Charlton one, that's the one I remember, because I when I was watching that, you took a look. Is this something that sort of you look at to see if he's breaking in the lane or in between defenders, and then you sort of try and make that accurate kick downfield? But it seemed like you looked up and saw him and then made the play.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of shape in training, and obviously those situations happen a lot in training. And I know how good the 2 strikers are, and the manager and me, we talk about sometimes, obviously sometimes short and sometimes going long, and we do work on it. And, fortunately, it's a really nice feeling, obviously, when something you work on your training comes off, and it did on that night. And obviously both of those occasions were great wins. So it's nice to help the team, yeah.
So before we go too deep into everything that's going on with Accrington this year, you're just 21 years old, but you've had quite a few stops in your career already. I know that you started with the Chelsea Youth Academy, and you're still on loan from Chelsea. So tell us a little bit about your youth career, and we'll kind of go from there.
Well, yeah, I started at Chelsea when I was 8, so, I've been there since I was a baby. They've been brilliant with me, helped me so much over the years. Brilliant place to grow up. Obviously, it's a great academy, and, I was in the youth team with a lot of lads which are now playing for the first team. So I was obviously growing up with top players, and, being a goalkeeper and the way that training kind of works, I was able to be with the first team from a very young age. And yeah, it was a brilliant place to grow up. And then obviously, you get to a certain age where you want to start playing men's football, and the first team goalkeeper coach at the time kind of felt that I was ready to do it, and they sent me on loan, and I've been on loan for about 6 years now. So it was a great place to grow up. I've loved it there, and obviously it's still my dream to go back and play for them one day.
One of the things I wanted to ask you, Nathan, is when you talk about the youth career, and this is something that really is not a lot of players can say this coming through the youth systems, but you won the FA Youth Cup in 15-16, and which is a tremendous honor to have. But you also won the UEFA Youth League in the same year. That interests me because I don't know if a lot of people know about that. Is that something that you play in Europe, and who do you play, and where do you go to?
Yeah, that's the Under-19 Champions League. So obviously it's a great experience to kind of go around Europe and play. So the way that competition works is the group stages mirror the first team. So we travel with the first team, and we play in the morning and they play in the evening. And then obviously, depending on how it goes, it then breaks off into its own competition. And I was only 16 at the time, so just playing the Under-19 Champions League was quite a big thing. The goalkeeper got injured, and I got a chance to play. So, I really enjoyed that. And obviously the FA Youth Cup was great. It was really great experience to be playing in front of big crowds in the stadiums on TV at a young age. And yeah, it was a really nice experience. And still, I always seem to be reminded of that when I do interviews, and, you see videos and pictures. And the most pleasing thing for me is now, like, seeing some of the lads who obviously I'm good mates with, and now playing for Chelsea's first team. So yeah, I've got brilliant memories. To be honest with you, I kind of consider my achievements in senior football more significant. I think, supporters kind of always talk about the FA Youth Cup and the Under-19 Champions League, but kind of anyone in football will tell you that, that's kids football. And although those achievements are great, the FA Cup wins I've had, as a non-league team, knocking out League One opposition, kind of breaking records at league clubs, they're sort of more special to me, those achievements. But obviously you look back and with fond memories.
Well, yeah, and obviously gives you big experience to when you do go out on loan, and you've done a couple of stints in the National League with Solihull Moors and with Woking. The one that I think that really sort of has played a big part in your career, and I'm wondering if you agree, is your time at Yeovil in 18-19, because that was you're into league the football league play, and you went about, I think it's over 10 hours without conceding a goal. I think around 38 appearances. You won 5 awards at the end of the season: Player of the Season, Young Player of the Season, and that was as I say, in the EFL. How did that season go into building your career?
Well, I like to think that every kind of loan I've had, this is my 6th now, so every kind of club that I've been at, I've learned something different, and you play under different managers. It's really nice for me now to play under a really experienced manager, because I've kind of always tended to play under young managers. but yeah, I think you learn something different from each loan. You know, I love my time at Yeovil. I had a great relationship with the fans there. You know, they used to sing my name pretty much throughout the whole game. And I really love living in the town, and you know, like all the supporters around the town. It was quite obviously a small area. And yeah, I mean, I captained the team there as a 19-year-old, so that's like the youngest ever captain of that club. Obviously, we broke the clean sheet record. I think, yeah, must have been about 7 games, I think, in a row we went. And obviously won all the Player of the Season awards, which was obviously nice, but, you know, you always look back and think of things that you could have done better and things that could have gone better. And there was a lot of issues at the club at the time with kind of the ownership and, you know, prospective owners coming into the club and all of that. So it was a difficult time, but obviously personally, you know, I really enjoyed it, and it was my first step in league football. As you said, I played a lot of games in the conference, and I think anyone who kind of knows that, like the National League, they'll know that there's probably not too much difference between the National League and League Two, but it's quite a big thing in terms of, you know, the difference between non-league and playing league football. So obviously, yeah, that was a big step.
And now, later on in the show, we have a segment called Peter's Corner, where Peter Latham, who of course is the chairman of the Accrington Stanley Supporters Trust, sends in a few questions to us, and he has some questions related to living in Accrington from being from down in London. But last year, you had a stop that probably makes Accrington feel south, and that was when he went all the way up to Ross County, which I believe is the furthest north team in the Scottish Premiership. What was it like playing in Scotland, and how cold is it up there?
To be honest with you, everyone spoke to me about the cold before I went there, but I think it was a really mild winter. This winter's been so much colder, I think. But yeah, the weather wasn't actually too bad. I loved it up in Scotland. You know, the level was really, really good. I mean, I think people in Scotland probably think it's better than it is, but I don't think people in England appreciate the level of sort of players that there are and the standard of football. It's probably been quite good for me this season because I've almost felt like the game's a little bit, I don't know what to say, but you know, some of the games I played up there were really high quality, and you know, that's definitely helped me. Obviously, I had a great experience of playing at Celtic and Rangers in front of 60,000, 50,000, which is obviously something I really enjoyed. You know, that's what I grew up dreaming of doing when I was a kid. So they were nice experiences. You know, you play a lot of games on Sky and all of that. So it was really good. I enjoyed living up there. It's a beautiful part of the world, the Highlands, and I live quite near Loch Ness, and it was a really nice area. Great club, great facilities. Similar to this club, you know, an owner and a chairman that everyone kind of really respects and is well thought of, you know, in the community, and facilities are great up there. And yeah, it was a really good year. I mean, it started off and ended off badly with my shoulder operation, and then COVID. So, you know, there wasn't a full season, but no, it was, I look back on it like I do with every club I've been at, to be honest with you, and you know, like I am here with great memories.
Well, I think the memories that we want to hear end up being the greatest for you are the memories at Accrington Stanley, and certainly looking at the stat sheet, it's been a fantastic year for you so far. And one of the things that I've noticed with you, and this is something that we talked about a little bit earlier, is that you're a guy that really likes to attack at the ball, where if somebody's coming in on you, you want to not have to play the shot. You'll come out and get the ball first. Would you say that's an accurate assessment of your style?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, the phrase you probably use is likes to play high, likes to, you know, have high positioning. You know, lots of shots. You know, you'll rarely see me like dead on my line. That's kind of the way I've been taught from Chelsea. And yeah, I think it works for me. It doesn't necessarily work for everyone, but that's kind of the style that works for me. And you know, it doesn't always work. And there's times when you think, oh, maybe you could have been deeper. But definitely the high style is something I like, and I know something here the manager likes. And you know, he wants his goalie to come out and catch crosses, and the centre backs like you to come out and clear through balls and stuff. So I think my style really suits the club and the philosophy of like the team, which is obviously great for me, because sometimes you don't want to go to a team which has a different kind of style. But yeah, that's something that I like, and bravery is obviously an important part of the goalkeeper. And yeah, I mean, they're quite underrated sometimes, just like coming out and smothering, because people always talk about saves rather than through balls that you're picking up and stuff. But yeah, something that I've done quite a lot this season, and it works well for us.
I think that you're absolutely spot on with what I was thinking. And I really liked what you were saying in terms of that style works for you. It's not something that works for everybody. And that's something that Tony and I discuss a lot. Myself being here in the U.S. and then Tony being in Canada. Obviously, we watch a lot of ice hockey, and in the goalkeeper position in ice hockey, in the 1990s, there were two Hall of Fame goalkeepers. One was Patrick Waugh, and one was Dominic Hasek. And they had two different styles where Patrick Waugh, he would be a guy, he would come out, he would attack the puck more like what you're saying, how you play, where Hasek, he would be a guy, he would sit back and just kind of be in the best position to stop the shot. And they both ended up winning lots of championships and making the Hall of Fame. And it was just one style worked for one guy and one guy worked for the other. And I've been telling Tony that you're a Patrick Waugh and not a Dominic Hasek. And I think that's about what you just said there.
Yeah. I think, Nathan, you're going to have to Google those two names afterwards.
Yeah. I don't really know anything about that, unfortunately. Sorry.
Well, this leads me, and it's actually one of Peter's points too, and it sort of ties in with what we've been talking about, having been a goalkeeper in a sweeper position. When you see other goalkeepers, and I mean, it seems to happen in the Premier League every weekend, and the last couple of weeks, Allison has had a couple of errors, and really the goal against Lincoln was sort of a rush kick from the keeper that Dion Charles intercepted and scored. When another keeper makes a mistake like that, is it like a goalkeepers union that you kind of feel bad for them, or just to say, look, I got to make sure I don't make that mistake?
Yeah, you definitely don't feel bad for them when it's against us. Like, I didn't feel bad for the Lincoln goalie at all. I think mistakes are part of football, and I think anyone within goalkeeping will know that mistakes happen. I think sometimes, different people have different views, but I like to think one of my strengths is like knowing when to play short and when to play long. And I think we have a really good balance at Accrington. The manager doesn't have one of these die-hard play out from the back philosophies that some of the managers in our league do. And I think I see that as a really positive thing, because, look at the way that we press teams and the amount of times that we win the ball back from teams because they have this philosophy. And I don't think it helps them, to be honest with you. And then equally, he doesn't have a long ball philosophy. I think, as I touched on earlier with kind of like my style of goalkeeping, it's what works for us. And we have a good mix of, we play short when it's on to play short. And we play short for a purpose. We play short because it helps us kind of break lines and get our midfielders on the ball, which, helps us get up the pitch. And sometimes we play short to create more space for the strikers and stuff, and it works. But then equally, we also know the right times to go long. I think that's definitely one of my strengths, knowing when to play short and when to play long.
Well, I think it makes it harder for an opposing manager and team to when to press and when not to, because if you're basically like a quarterback back there where you're controlling whether at the distribution go long or go short, I think that makes it more effective, a style of play for a team like Accrington that really is successful in both styles.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're a very difficult team to play against because, like you say, if we play short, we play out well, and then if we go long, Colby tends to win everything. So, I wouldn't really know how to play against us. I mean, it's interesting for me because obviously we have Mark, who's very good on the ball, and he does a lot of the quarterback stuff, which normally I would do. You know, like it was a bit strange for me in the first few games that I played with Mark, because he would kind of take the ball off me, and I was thinking, well, this is kind of my job to distribute the ball, and normally people would be playing it back to me to play forward. But, you know, we've kind of worked on ways that I can peel off him, and, you know, the manager and Jimmy and John, and we've all worked on it, and, you know, it's really started to click. And I think even working it with the strikers and when to go short and having patterns of play, and I think we're really getting it right at the moment, and you can see that with the results. And yeah, it's really enjoyable team to play for.
Before I wanted to ask about playing with those guys in front of you. We've got one of the questions that Peter mentioned, and it was talking about you look comfortable with the ball at your feet, and you've got that confidence, and it comes across in spades when we watch it. You got a confidence back there with the ball at your feet. But he says he did want me to mention to you, not too many of those crow turns on your own 6-yard line, though it's not good for the fans' heart rate. I think he's thinking of us senior guys that don't want to have the heart ticking going, you know, when you do make a move like that. But anyway, the one thing as I say, you're behind with being a young player, and you've got a team in front of you with Mark Hughes, you've got Nottingham, you've got Burgess. And how is it when you're in the box and you have to command your 6-yard box and giving orders to the defenders to take, you know, my ball and that sort of thing? Was that an easy transition? Did they help, or did you feel any intimidation at all in that?
Oh, I've been doing that since I was 17. You know, I think it was a lot worse for me when I was 17 playing in the conference, and I actually had no games under my belt, and I was ordering people around who had played like 500 league games and stuff. That was, at the time, a little bit daunting, but, you know, you just get used to it. And I don't really see them, you know, in that way, to be honest with you. And, you know, I've got no problem telling them the way it is, and, you know, they've got no problem telling me the way it is. But that's good for the team. You know, if I don't think one of them's doing their jobs, I don't really care how many games they play for the club. Obviously, I'll tell them what I think, but obviously you've got to be respectful, and you know, I respect the fact that, you know, the career that some of them have had, and, you know, I mean, Cam's still young, to be fair. I'm sure he'll hope to keep climbing up the leagues, and I just think it's a good working relationship between all of us. You know, we all go through the videos, and, you know, we don't agree on everything, and but that's part and parcel of football. You know, I've never agreed with my centre backs on everything, but, you know, you do what you do to make sure that the team wins, and sometimes it's healthy to have that kind of aggression in a good way, you know. And as long as it makes sure that we keep winning, and we keep clean sheets, we have good understanding, I think, and that comes, to be fair, from all the shape work we do in training, and you know, I really feel the benefit of that. And, you know, I play for some teams where we do a lot of possession games and five-a-sides Monday to Friday, and then you get out on the game and you don't necessarily know 100% what you're doing. And, you know, I really value the fact that what we do in training really gets us prepared. And I think supporters and stuff will really see how organised we've been this season.
I think also on during in the heat of the match, sometimes you know, there's words between defenders, between goalkeeper and defenders. That is something that's part of the game. And when you leave the pitch at the end, that's all put aside. Everything, it's just sort of it's part of the game. I guess that's going to happen occasionally.
To be honest with you, I think there's more words between the defenders and the strikers at this club. I think Mark gets more angry when the strikers miss than anything that goes on at the back. But no, I think, you know, I'm quite happy to tell people my views, and if, at the end of the day, it's my job to make sure that I command the box. And I think it's good. You know, I think it would be more of a worry if we had defenders, goalkeepers, and midfielders that didn't want to talk. You know,
yeah.
I think that would be more of an issue. But yeah, I mean, we all have a great relationship as lads, and it's a really close group. And I think, you know, someone said to me the other day, you know, there's not really any bad eggs in the group, but I just don't think it would be tolerated, you know, because the culture that the staff set and the senior players set, is so good. And I think if you're a bad egg, you'll stick out like a sore thumb. And I don't think you can really be like that at Accrington, which is obviously credit to everyone at the club.
The one of the Peter's questions was that coming from Westminster, which is one of the most famous addresses in London, obviously, and you played in Scotland. You played in Scotland, and now you're playing with players from Liverpool. Which is the worst accent, or which is the toughest one to understand?
Well, I didn't grow up in Westminster, for sure. I wish I did. It's a lovely part of the world, but Westminster. No, I mean, I think everywhere kind of where I've been has been different accents. I'll tell you what, for me, the worst accent was actually when I first went to Solihull Moors, the Birmingham accent. The manager that I played for at the time had a really thick Birmingham accent. I remember like the first half time, team talk, he was talking about the shape, and I was just thinking, I have no idea what you're saying. But yeah, no, there's obviously, I don't think there's as many scouts as there used to be from what the boys said, but no, it doesn't really bother me. It is what it is. I don't really know what to say. Obviously, everyone comes from different parts. But no, I've enjoyed being up there.
So coming back to football a little bit, after yesterday's result, Accrington Stanley is now 6th place at the table, which of course is a playoff position. Also is the highest Accrington Stanley has ever been in the table this far in the season in the history of the club. So at this point, 26 matches into the season, not that we have newspapers anymore, but is that something that you guys are starting to look at? And is the standings when you open up the daily newspaper, or is it still just that proverbial one game at a time?
I think it's both. I think we've been looking at the table, for a long, long time. I think there's a real belief that we can get promoted. I think that's grown and grown. I remember, speaking probably a few months ago, and it was still very much, there's a long way to go, and we're doing well, but I think now it's kind of shifted in our heads, definitely. I think we have a belief that we should be promoted because of the ability we have in the dressing room. Obviously, doesn't always mean you will, and there is still a long way to go. It's a bit of a strange season in the sense that you're kind of coming in the time of year in terms of the month. You're kind of thinking, it's nearly the end of the season. There's only 3 months to go, but there's actually a lot of games. So, it's got a long way to go. But you've seen this week, we've more than matched Lincoln, probably been the better side. We've more than matched Doncaster, probably been the better side. So, they're two teams which are obviously top and fourth, I think, before last night. So, we have a massive belief, and obviously in terms of size of club and stuff, it would be an unbelievable achievement. But I think with the squad that we have, I think we match everyone, and I think that the answer is both, because obviously you have to take it game by game, because if you don't do that, then you'll stop obviously winning games and stuff. But no, there's definitely a belief that we can get into the playoffs 100%.
Yeah, I mean, just to put things into perspective a little bit, one of our favorite stats on the show is that the entire population of Accrington proper could fit inside of the Stadium of Light, and you guys are now one place ahead of Sunderland at the table.
Yeah, I think when I probably signed for the club, I probably didn't anticipate us being this high. I think I definitely would have seen us as a mid-table team. But, if I'm probably being honest, I didn't sign for Accrington thinking that we'd be around the playoffs. But, the moment you get here and you see the belief, and you see the way that the staff prepare for the games, and the analysis that they all do is brilliant. I feel certainly so prepared for games, and I'm sure the lads do, and the kind of belief that we have, and there's certainly, maybe our supporters, you don't probably realise it, because sometimes people play it down in the press and stuff, but we definitely believe that we're more than good enough to be in and around there, and obviously you need a bit of luck. But ultimately we definitely think that although the size of club, I obviously what you're saying about the stat, but at the end of the day, it's just about the 11v11, isn't it? And it doesn't really matter. Obviously, with the fans at the moment, there's no one here, so it's probably our best opportunity as a club. So I'm really looking forward to the end of the season, and hopefully it'll be something really special.
Well, the stats really do back up that you guys are good enough, because sometimes you'll look at a table and you'll see a club might be in 5th or 6th place, but they'll only be like a +2 on goal difference, and you think, well, maybe some of that luck you were talking about is going to stop going their way, but you guys are a +11 goal difference. Your 27 goals allowed is one of the best figures in the league, and obviously you're a huge part of that. But I think what it really comes down to a lot of is what you talked about earlier, is how there's not a bad egg in the room. And I think that's really maybe the secret sauce to John Coleman's 4 promotions and, knocking on wood, maybe working on a 5th, is that he not only can he find the guys that are the best value for their talent on the football field, but he just finds the best guys that are going to work the hardest and really want to play for that badge, and and I think that's why Accrington Stanley always ends up being more than a sum of its parts, if you will.
Yeah, definitely. I think obviously the environment is set by the manager and his staff, and I think the senior players have a lot to should be given a lot of credit for that. The lads that have been there for years, and I think it helps as players. If you're coming into a club as a lone player and there's a spine of the side which have played 400, 500 games for the club, it definitely helps. And as I said a lot tonight, the environment is great, and everyone works really hard. And I think the gaffer said a lot of the time, like the impression that people have of Accrington is wrong, and I think people are starting to realise that. So the amount of professionalism and preparation that goes into every game is great, and it's a great environment to be in, and I love being here. And it's also an environment that you can enjoy your football as well, which is massive. You enjoy coming into work every day, and that you can see that with the way that the lads run for the shirt and play for the football club.
I think a lot of teams initially in first part of the season may not have sort of thought of Accrington as a team that's going to challenge for the playoffs. And I still sense that when you listen to the I Follow, if you're listening to the away announcers, I think the play, the way Accrington plays really catches them off guard. And Coleman talks about, and you've touched on it too, is the work rate and passion in this squad. Obviously, that's something that is important, and you see that in spades, like you say, in this team, right, Nathan?
Yeah, definitely, and I've noticed a big difference between this side and the sides that I played for before. Every kind of team that I played for before is very much kind of had a view that you can press for the first 20 minutes, and then you might have to have a spell sitting in. But that just doesn't happen here. I remember the first few games I came in and I was watching like the lads come in after the games and just thinking, how have you ran that amount? It's just crazy. And it obviously makes my life as a goalkeeper much easier. And I think the back four as well. I think everyone talks about the goalkeeper and the back four for clean sheets. I think that the big difference between this side is the amount of work that the attacking players do and the midfielders. I think everyone works really hard, and obviously that's set by the manager, because if you don't work hard, you're not going to play, and obviously every player wants to play. So, it is unbelievable the amount that the lads work, and it's a pleasure to watch sometimes. Sometimes when we're winning and you're just watching Dion and Colby chase down lost causes and keep us up the pitch, it's really enjoyable to watch from where I stand.
Yeah, you see everything in front of yourself, that's for sure.
Well, at the beginning of the show, before we started recording, I promised you that we had some fun questions for you, and I know that if the regular listeners have been waiting for this segment for a while because it's probably become our most popular. So I'm going to turn it over to Tony for the world famous rapid fire.
The only way it's world famous is because we're recording in Canada and the States, and Nathan is in England, so that's why it's world famous. We can put our claim to fame to. This is it initially started out as a north kind of south thing, but it's just evolved into some really fun questions. There's no wrong or right answer, no points awarded. It's just some quick, funny questions. Now that you're in Lancashire, have you had a chance? Would you prefer mushy peas or garden peas with your fish and chips?
Garden peas.
Garden peas. Red or brown sauce on your bacon sandwich?
Red.
If you were to have a full English, would you have it with black pudding or not?
Without.
What's your favorite band?
Oasis.
Favorite program or show that you would binge watch to?
Friends.
Who has the best sense of humor in the squad?
Colby Bishop.
And I think I know the answer to this one, but who spends the most time in front of the mirror after the match?
Joe Pritchard.
Yeah, it seems to be unanimous on that one, Phil. If you were to have a drink to celebrate, would you prefer a wine or a beer?
Neither.
Okay. A stadium that you haven't played in that you would like to play in?
Stamford Bridge. Excellent.
Favorite takeaway?
Nando's.
And this is a one you I know you have to give it some thought. Some people you may have it on the tip of your tongue, but living or dead, can you name 2 people that you would like to have dinner with?
I don't know.
Okay, while you're thinking about that one, I'll throw an easy one at you. Do you have a hobby outside of football, like something you do to relax that takes you away from the game?
Watch more football on the TV,
I think. Okay. I'm going to let him off on the dinner questions, Phil. So that's it for me.
well, there's just a couple comments I had on the rapid fire. Is I noticed that Tony, you changed our questions of Beatles or Rolling Stones or Oasis or Blur to favorite band, and we still got Oasis.
There you go.
Tells me we needed to stick with the original question, so obviously Oasis over Blur. But when you said Oasis, it got me thinking Minnesota United, who are an MLS team over here. They actually sing Wonderwall in the locker room after every win. I think that this is something Accrington Stanley should start doing. Would you be a fan of singing Wonderwall in the locker room after every win?
Oh, yeah, I'd love that.
I'm going to have to mention that to the gaffer on the call.
If we get promoted, I'm sure it'll be played in the dressing room at Wembley. Yeah.
What was your initiation song?
My song "Dancing in the Moonlight."
Oh, okay. I don't know that one.
Top loader.
Oh, okay, great. Well done.
That was after the Charlton game.
All right. Okay. One of our listeners and a big supporter of Stanley lives down in Nottingham. Wanted me to say hello. It's David and Angela Davis. And the reason I don't know if that name rings a bell, but they sponsor your away shirt for the season, and he said just make sure you tell Nathan to sign his shirt at the end of the season because he wants one.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, make sure they'll be away for that to happen. 100%. Yeah.
One of the things too is there's been a lot of players that have kickstarted their career or improved their career, built on their career, if you want to say. that's come through Accrington, and I think your name is going to be added to this list. You've got Rob Elliott that went on to Newcastle, Darren Randolph at West Ham, Marcus Bettinelli from Fulham, and I'm safely saying that your name is going to be added to that list. The way you've come in this season and the way you performed. How does it feel to be mentioned with other goalkeepers of that caliber?
Yeah, I remember when I signed. The gaffer spoke to me about all those, a few of those goalies, and it's obviously nice for me to kind of know that I'm following a path that a lot of people that have had unbelievable careers, and careers obviously I'd hope to have kind of followed in my footsteps. And it's obviously a very common thing for young goalkeepers to go on loan. It was the same at Yeovil. I remember there was a long list of top goalkeepers that had played for them, and yeah, it's obviously great company to be in, and obviously I'd love to have the careers that some of those guys have had, and that's what I'm working towards.
The before I wrap up, I got one last question, and it was something that Coleman said a while back, that when you came into the team, you had to wait your turn behind Toby Savin, who was playing really well to start the season. And he mentioned that what an example your attitude was to the rest of the team, because they saw somebody of your caliber coming in and working hard and high spirits. And he said that spread on to the other players in the team and kind of set a tone. Is that something that is that part of your nature, something you work on and you take pride in, something of that like that?
I think obviously inside it was extremely frustrating, and I wasn't really expecting it, but it's just part and parcel of football, isn't it? So obviously I wanted the lads to win and do well, so you don't have to pretend or whatever. You want the side to do well, and I always seem to have great relationships with the supporters of the clubs that I play at, and that is, I think, because they see that I genuinely buy into the club. And I remember saying in my first interview that I signed for Accrington, like, I see myself as an Accrington player now, and I forget that I'm on loan at Chelsea. And I think if you speak to the lads and the staff, I think they'd 100% say that I've acted in that manner. And obviously it was an extremely frustrating time, because you don't go on loan to sit on the bench, but there's no divine right to play just because you're from Chelsea, and just because I'd obviously played a lot more games and had a lot more experience and that. But I knew that when I got my chance, I was gonna make the shirt my own, and obviously luckily I've done that. And it's important for me that because I had that difficult start, that I end the season well.
Well, I think and I think Phil will agree that you have taken the shirt, made it your own, and the confidence you and your talent and your ability, not only shot stopping, but playing from the back, and your lack of fear. Because the other day, I think it was later in the match against Doncaster, when the player was coming in, you went down, got the ball at his feet, and there was a bit of an injury there, or as they say in the game now, match management. But I trust you were okay for that. But I mean, that shows you don't have that fear of throwing yourself about, do you?
No, I mean, I got a black eye against Plymouth, and I remember thinking when I was in the conference, I used to get a black eye every week. So I haven't had a black eye for a while. So, but that was because I was going up to try and attack in the last minute. So really, it serves me right for leaving my area and going up the other end of the pitch.
That's kind of a message to say that goalkeepers should stay in their box.
Yeah, 100%. I always want a chance at the glory, but really, I should be a bit more sensible next time, I think.
Well, I was going to say, I think what Tony's getting at is a bit of what we were talking about before the show, is that a great goalkeeper really brings a swagger and a personality to the position, and that attitude carries out through the whole team. And I think both of those hockey goalies that I mentioned earlier are guys who brought that to that position. And we think that you have definitely just brought a personality and a swagger to the goalkeeping position. And it just permeates throughout the whole team. And the amount of leadership that you brought has been a huge asset to Accrington this year.
Yeah, I'd like to think that even though I'm still relatively young in years, I bring leadership. And, obviously I've been a leader in a lot of the other dressing rooms I've been at when I've been even younger. So to be fair, this is a relatively older dressing room. I've been a part of some quite young dressing rooms where I've had to be a leader, but I like to think, well, it's my job as a goalie, and that's why not many managers trust young goalies, because they want a leader in goal. And I like to think I bring that with my personality and the way I organise the lads. And I know people talk a lot about stats, but I think I bring a lot more than what the stats say with kind of my personality, and like you say, with the way you help bring the ball out and, coming for crosses and through balls and that stuff, which doesn't show up in the statistics. So, that's obviously something which I like to bring when I come into a football club.
Well, boxing fans will know that people used to say in Mike Tyson's heyday that his opponents were beat before they even got into the ring, because they were just, he had that persona. And I mean, obviously that's a completely different sport, but what I'm getting at is it's that intangible that's beyond the stat sheet, where, if you have that belief that you're going to win, the opponent knows that you think that you're going to win, and at the same time, they start worrying, okay, we going to be the ones that get run over by this train.
Yeah, sometimes I think you get the opposite at Accrington, don't you? I think people come to kind of our stadium and stuff and almost underestimate us, and I think that's why, well, not the only reason, but that's a slight reason why we've been so successful. But I think it's starting to change now, and I think people are starting to treat us with more respect. But obviously, certainly with me, if you're commanding and you look confident, it's going to help your team, but it's also going to demoralize the other team. And obviously, I've still got loads to learn, and I'm still young, and as I say, I've got loads to learn. But obviously, that's the aim of what you do when you try and walk onto the pitch.
Well, one last question I wanted to ask, and it's really, we got to give credit to this question to Peter Latham, because it's one that I had down too, and being a Chelsea player, they brought in young foreign keepers into their first squad. Does that at all discourage you, or does that drive you on to work harder to crack into that first team at Chelsea?
Oh, obviously, when you're at the academy, they've been bringing over foreign goalkeepers since I was 15, even to play in the youth teams and stuff. So that's not really a surprise. Obviously, it is my dream to play for their club. I've been there since I was 8, and I have a lot of confidence in my abilities, and I think obviously that is my goal. But I think if you look too far ahead, that's kind of a while down the line for me. All I need to focus on is playing well this year, and then the ideal situation for me would be that we get Accrington promoted, and then I can come back and loan here next year. So I'm not looking forward too much apart from Shrewsbury on the weekend. That's kind of my focus. I think if you start to get caught up in what Chelsea are doing and who they're signing, then you're kind of not going to do. You're not going to focus on your own job. So that's all. That's not just like kind of a line that I give out. That's genuinely my mindset.
Well, I think, and I think Phil will agree, is continued success, because you've really played well this season when you've got the shirt, and I'm hoping that you can get along with the players to Wembley and win that playoff final. Hey, why not? You might be able a chance of automatic promotion with the way you guys are playing. You're very hard to beat. You've got a big schedule in February, only lost one match, which was really a tough result for you guys. But all the best, Nathan, and hopefully if we do get promoted, that you'll get some experience playing in Accrington in the championship.
Oh, that would be brilliant, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, Nathan, it's been brilliant having you on the show, and thanks so much for putting up with us two North Americans, even though Tony is originally from Accrington. But like Tony said, continued success, and it's just been a joy watching you this season, and looking forward to watching you make lots of saves and rack up some clean sheets, and hopefully a couple more assists before the season's out.
Yep.
Let's hope so. Thank you very much for having me on. Cheers.
That was great.
And we always like to wrap up with an on Stanley on. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. On Stanley on.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, Nathan.
Cheers. Thank you.